So Konami have released a new Showtime skill, and it's definitely coming at an interesting time considering how focused the community has been on scoring goals with headers recently. So it is called Aerial Fort, and it will improve your headers defensively. But there is a bit of a catch. If we go into the player skill section and actually read the description, it's at the bottom here. It only is going to apply inside the penalty box. So there it is there. Improves players' abilities regarding aerial duels when positioned inside his own penalty box. Kind of interesting because if you're playing against, say, Collar or something, you probably want to play a high line just because you can't really score a header from the 40 yards out. So when you're playing against something like that, a high line usually would be recommended. But this is only going to work inside the box. Now, I would assume this is essentially an arms race Konami you're trying to create for pay-to-win players. So, you have to spend money to get your Sorloth, your bullet header, Ronaldo, etc. And now you're going to also have to spend money to kind of negate them. So assuming I haven't actually got any footage or testing with these skills, I'll probably try get my hands on one of them for a stream later. But assuming it does negate bullet header, or rather the ability of like a really tall striker like a Sorloth, it kind of just negates that skill entirely. And if you're someone who spent a lot of money to get a bullet header player, I think you're going to be a bit upset when this aerial fort players come up against you. Another thing to consider, if it's only inside his own penalty box, it's not going to work for attacking on corners. So that was something that interested me. I thought when I first seen it, I was like, oh, maybe we'll be able to score some corner kick goals with like a Van Dijk more often, but it doesn't look like that's the case. It's only going to be purely defensively and in your own penalty box. So it's going to be important to keep that in mind when we're making the builds, because we're going to still have to invest in aerial strength because it's going to be from like goal kicks and stuff. This little skill isn't really going to kick in. But we'll have a look at the cards. I actually think Virgil van Dijk and Ruben Diaz are very good cards in this game. I don't really spend money on defenders. I usually just kind of go for the free-to-play players, and I will get defenders along the way while I'm going for attackers in the packs. But I've used a Ruben Diaz and a Virgil van Dijk card for a long time, and they're actually very good. I think if the two best defenders probably that aren't legends in the game or kind of pay-to-win cards, like Tomiyasu would be better than these two, but in terms of non-legends, these are a very good selection. And then also one of my viewers, Steven, he's kind of very good at kind of testing stuff on the game. He actually has been using Jonathan Tah recently to stop all the kind of bullet header nonsense that has been plaguing divisions recently. So it's interesting to see Jonathan Tah also got a card, because even without this skill, he's meant to be very good in the air. So we'll go have a look at the builds, and I'll let you know if I think these guys are worth getting. So here is the build I've arrived at for Van Dijk. If we take the boosts off, you can see that it's really not that complicated. The main thing we're looking for is 85 speed and the 85 jump. So when we put the boost on, he looks very good. Van Dijk already does have a Showtime card. That one has Fortress, I believe. This is what that one looks like. I pretty much think they're like for like cards. This one actually has a little bit more acceleration, which would be good. And I think it has less jump on that build anyway, but this newer one also has that skill. So this one will definitely be more dominant in the air. I wouldn't really say the last Van Dijk is weak in the air though. I'd say like he's nearly one of the best in the game for defense. But honestly, it looks like a pretty good card for me. If you want to, do something better with the booster, just put like a defend in or a shutdown. You can take a point off defending then and reinvest it elsewhere. One thing I will say is his passing stats are a bit low, which is a bit surprising. Like if it's a free-to-play card, I don't understand that. But Van Dijk's not bad at passing in real life, so that's a bit of a shame to see. But I have, like, when I use my Van Dijk, and let me see if I can find which version it is I use exactly. He has low passing stats as well, but I actually find he passes very good. It's this one here. So this one is like a Premier League selection player. His passing stats, like his low passing stats aren't great anyway, but you can see his lofted pass does reach the 70 threshold. So I actually think, looking at that, it's going to be clear to see that like this one is going to be worse at passing, which is going to be a shame. Now, I don't think most people care about passing on their centre backs. I think I'm part of a minority that does. I think most people just care about their defensive ability, but for my playstyle, like I use Berezi, I use Beckenbauer, and I think Tomiyasu has good passing stats too, definitely has good skills for passing. Anyway, I love a centre back that can pass the ball, so this Van Dijk might not reach that kind of level. And you can see on his skills here, he actually doesn't even have passing skills either. So for the skills I would give to Van Dijk, I would give him one touch pass, low lofted pass, true passing, and then for the rest, yeah, I could go for weighted pass. He doesn't really have the stats for it, but I guess it can't really hurt. And I'd probably go for gamesmanship just in case your opponent's striker is pressing you and like might fall over. Could be cleaning on goal your striker or your opponent's striker, but if you have gamesmanship, you might win a foul and kind of get saved by the referee. So those are the skills I'd recommend on Van Dijk. Next, we'll move on to Ruben Diaz. Actually, before we move on, I just want to mention one more thing about Van Dijk. He is a build-up. And most defenders that are legends are destroyers, like Maldini, Nesta, Puyol, Cannavaro. The vast majority of them are destroyers. It's kind of hard to get a build-up legend centre-back or pay-to-win centre-back. A lot of people use defensive fullbacks as centre-back to kind of emulate what a build-up does. So that is another kind of reason why you might want to go for Van Dijk. Yeah, here's Ruben Diaz, and you can see before we put any boosts on, his passing is good. So this guy will be your more ball-playing one, although he is a destroyer. I think I'd rather a build-up be the passer. I don't think it actually has a major difference. One thing I like destroyers to have is kind of be a little bit nimble. Like a Cannavaro is a great example, because destroyers want to press out like onto the kind of, not the midfield, but where the defensive midfielder might be. They're a bit aggressive. So what will often happen with a destroyer is they'll take the ball off the striker, and then they're in midfield with the ball, and they're going to have to be comfortable in that situation. And you can see with Ruben Diaz, he's obviously got the passing abilities. He does have the skills as well, but look at them in a minute. But he does have actually decent balance in this build. He has 70 balance, so I think he will be fine on the ball and comfortable kind of venturing a little bit further up the pitch. You can see Diaz does start with one touch pass and through passing, which is very good to see. So I want to complement that with low lofted pass probably. But he is missing one defensive skill. Now, it's actually not that majorly important anymore. It's acrobatic clearance. Back in PES, this used to be like a really, really important skill, but pretty much any player can do an acrobatic clearance nowadays. So I don't know what's gone wrong with Konami there, why they've kind of made it so every player can acrobatically clear, but I would put it on just to be safe. And to be honest, like after that, the skills you're going to put on him are going to be very, you know, they're not really important. Like he's kind of got everything he needs by this point. So I'd be just going for gamesmanship, similar to what I recommended with Van Dijk. Like even a cut behind and turn. I don't think a cut behind and turn would be great on Van Dijk, just because his passing isn't going to be up to the ability of Ruben Diaz. But Ruben Diaz will be good enough at his passing that it'd probably be worth it to have cut behind and turn, so you can hit like a Cruyff turn and then kind of switch the ball very quickly. And in that sense, you can probably put weighted pass on him too. But realistically, I honestly don't even think you need to put 5 skills in this guy, because there is a risk. You could have put double touch on him, you know, you might as well, but then you're going to be hitting double touches with him and probably lose the ball very often. So he's one of them few players, and it usually is defenders that just don't really need the 5 skills to kind of be optimal. Like a striker or any attacking player, you probably need to use all 5 skills to make them as good as they should be. But defenders, you can kind of get away with a bit less. Sorry, for the booster on Ruben Diaz, I forgot to mention, I think dueling makes the most sense. So you can see what boost it gives. It gives speed, awareness, tackling, and is it stamina? Yeah, stamina. So what you can do then is you can just take off a point of defending. You still have your 95 on the tackling, which is kind of what you're looking for. And you can probably invest more into passing, or you can take all the passing off and get it into speed or dexterity. It's really not going to change the card majorly, but I know there will be people curious. So yeah, look at Jonathan Tah. This is his build that I went with at the start. I don't think this guy looks majorly impressive. He is quite fast, to be fair, and he is obviously going to be very dominant in the air at 195 centimeters tall. But his defensive stats aren't extremely high, and I've already invested 12 points in. I wouldn't really want to take off the lower body strength, because I feel like you're gonna want them to be very fast, because he doesn't really have the high defensive stats. I'm looking to compensate it with high speed. I mean, I guess you can though. You can just take off. Let's go to 85. And then go up defending stats, but it doesn't really improve it a major amount. For the booster, just put a defending booster on, or sorry, not like specifically defending, but any booster that boosts defending stats. Like shutdown might not even be bad, because it gives a little bit of speed as well, and then with that you can get to 89 speed. And then for Jonathan Tah, he has a couple of interesting skills in acrobatic position of rising shot. Don't think you're going to be able to use them very often, but he is missing fighting spirit, so definitely give him fighting spirit. Then I probably go for one touch pass and true passing, low lofted pass as well. Then again, that last skill isn't going to majorly change anything. If you get all 3 players, maybe you could put super sub on Jonathan Tah, because whenever I use Van Dijk, his stamina goes low pretty quickly, so it could be a case of you start Van Dijk and bring on Jonathan Tah with super sub, or like I recommended with the others, gamesmanship or weighted pass. So overall, interested in pack or interested in Showtime skill. I will try to get my hands on it later, see what it's like. But it just goes to show, a lot of free-to-play players think that you know, Konami kind of cater to pay-to-win players. In a sense, they do, but like they're definitely trying to milk them as well and exploit them. Like I never bought the bullet header thing, so this doesn't really matter to me. And I don't really play crosses. I think this is just kind of a wake-up call for the people who do spend on this game and buy like, oh, I need bullet header because it's the most OP thing. Like Konami are very happy to sell you a problem. Okay, they've added bullet header now. Crosses are going to be OP, and then they're going to be very happy to sell you the solution. I can't speak. They're going to be very happy to sell you the solution further down the line in these kind of players. So look, sometimes it's best just not get involved and take a step aside. Like I don't know if they're going to do it. They haven't done a Showtime skill for any keepers yet. They could do a Showtime skill that kind of helps them save long range shots, which could nerf the kind of long range blitz curlers, or they have one in FIFA called Far Reach, which is basically the same thing. It helps long range shots, but it will slightly improve your chances against finesse shots in FIFA. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'd be interested to see what all you guys think about this new showtime skill.